Profit Playbook, Systems and Formulas for Financial Success. This is all Ian's kind of expertise. So he's going to be leading us through, but you all know us, but for those that are watching on video and have not seen us before, I'm Tony, and I am co-founder with Ian of the Expert Growth Services. We are both mentors, business mentors. I've been in business myself for the last 12 years. I've founded and run 3 businesses. Prior to that, I actually was behind the scenes with my husband, running 2 businesses. And I've spent 30 years working with business owners, helping them to start, scale, and grow their businesses. Ian, how about you?
How about me? Right, I am an ex-banker, 35 years in banking, corporate finance, business finance. And in 2010, I decided to, well, not retire, but leave banking, leave the corporate world. Took 2 years out, and then I set up a commercial finance brokerage, which I grew in 5 years to just shy of 35 staff, 4 million turnover, and I sold that out in 2019. So I'm still involved with that company as a director. We sold out to a major corporate. But what I learned from that was basically really having that comfort of working in a corporate institution, then going out on your own as a business owner. So, and we grew very quickly. So this Profit Playbook is, say, right up my street, because I've experienced the downs and the ups of what it's like running a business. So hopefully my experience and what I've achieved and what I went through will help you.
Yeah, fantastic. And as we say, this is our dojo, the place where we come to practice, get into action, and hopefully get on the path to mastery, knowing that what the masters enjoy is the journey, not actually getting there. Not to say that we won't, but let's be real. Okay, so today is all about giving you the systems and the formulas for financial success. If you've been here before, you know the crack, so get into the chat, introduce yourselves, tell us who you are, where you're from, what you do, give us any links that you've got for each other's businesses. Please do use this as the opportunity to network and hopefully, find other people that you align with, maybe can do some business with, partner with, whatever that is. That's what sort of space we want to create. And Ian, I'm just going to hand over to you to my couple of slides.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Right. I think with today's subject matter, it doesn't matter how small a business you are, whether you've got 50, 60 staff turning over 10 million, or there's 1 or 2 of you. Everything we're going to talk about today is really affects how you run your business, and there are important things here. Now, some of this might be a little bit technical, but I'd also just be interested, please just interrupt me if you want to ask any questions, because I think what we're going to talk about here is really the mechanics that drive a business. So we're going to be talking about what profit's all about, what cash is all about, and the mistakes that we can all make quite innocently sometimes. So next slide, please. Okay, the profit formula. Now, pretty obvious really how we arrive at a profit. You've got your revenue, which is whether you call it revenue, income, turnover, sales, and then you've got your costs. Now, revenue minus cost equals profit. Now, we're all in any business, and you're going to have 2 sets of costs when you run a business. You're going to have what we call your variable costs, which are things like, I always use the example, if you've got a corner shop, for example, and you're buying your stock, you're buying your tins of baked beans in at 10p a can and selling them at £1. They're your variable costs that you have from day to day to achieve your turnover. even if you're in a service business, you might have staff involved. So it's really any cost which relates to you achieving your turnover. And then you've got your fixed costs, which are there, they don't go away. They're basically there day in, day out. So you're going to have your rent, you're going to have your staff salaries, your electric, any IT costs, stationery, etc. So when we look at our costs, it's very important. It's so easy, and I've seen this so many times where you you're running your business, you're growing, and it's it's easy to think, okay, I now need to pay for that cost every month, that service every month. Oh, it's only another £100 a month. That's okay. And before you know it, those fixed costs start building up. So it's very important that you monitor your cost structure very, very carefully. I mean, if we've talked about variable costs and fixed costs. So I mean, with variable costs, you're going to look at different. If you've got more than one product you're selling, you're going to need to look at your revenue streams for each product. So let's say, for example, you've got a business which has got 5 different products. Now, it might well be that when you look at the cost structure for each product, 4 of those products might be making a profit before fixed costs. The other product might not. It might be slightly loss making, it might be breaking even, but for whatever reason, you might need that loss making product to help you achieve the other 4 products that you're selling, if that makes sense. So always look with any service that you're offering, any product that you're selling, just look at your revenue streams for those services and the costs relating to that. Obviously, with cash flow management is so important. We always say that you can run a business making a loss for so long, but you cannot run a business if you haven't got any cash. And the old saying, cash is king, and it's the lifeblood of your business. So with cash flow management, very, very important that. However, it's up to you how often you want to monitor it. I mean, when we were growing our business, I was literally doing a cash flow forecast every week. I needed to know what costs I had coming out, what income I knew I had coming in the following week. Now, you might say that's overkill. It wasn't overkill because from our point of view, we were growing so quickly. I just needed to ensure that I had sufficient cash. And also, it's very nice if you can do it. You really need at least 2 to 3 months buffer within your business to cover your costs because you never know what's around the corner. So if you can, just try and keep 3 months of costs in the background, just so you know that you've got your cash flow managed. Any questions on that? No? Good. Do you want to what's the heading of that? I can't see the heading of that because it's
Key profit systems.
Oh right, okay, thank you.
Can everyone else see that?
Yeah, I've got the meeting is being recorded bar in the way.
Move the bar.
I don't know why. Does that move? Will that move? I can't move it. That doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Right, key profit systems. Okay. Now when we look at this, we're looking at. I just want to move your heads actually, faces, because I've got everyone in the way. That's better. So we're looking at. We've talked about pricing strategy, expenses control. I mean, with revenue growth, it's so easy for things, as I was saying earlier, things to escalate. And this is a matter really of just identifying your costs. And I think it's very important that, I mean, with your variable costs, you haven't got a lot of control over from the point of view of doing reasonable negotiating terms with the people you're buying any products from or services or whatever. But it's it's a matter really of just identifying those costs and really, as I said about, it's so easy for fixed costs to run away with you. and I think you should be doing at least a quarterly review of your fixed costs. As I said just earlier, you know, it's so easy. Oh yeah, another £100, another £50 a month. That's nothing. I'm turning over 5 grand a month. What's the issue? And before you know it, you've got costs that or services you're really not using. So that is more important if you're really growing at a pace. So just be very careful. So I mean, really, there's things here. Pricing strategy. Just think about what you're pricing for your own services. Is that price competitive within your market? We do have a tendency to underprice our services, which can obviously lead to cash flow issues. So just be confident of what you're offering, really, and the fact that, yeah. I give another great example, and I used this yesterday. I actually flew back to Spain yesterday, and my daughter introduced me to Pret a Manger about a year ago. Now, I would never go in there because it was too expensive. I'd pay my £3.50 meal deal in WH Smith at Stansted Airport for sandwiches which just stuck to the roof of your mouth. So when I was traveling with her about a year ago, and she said, "Oh, should we get something to eat?" I said, "Yeah, I'm going to go in WH Smith." She said, "Dad," she said, why don't you go and press?" I said, "Because it's double the price." I said, I'm not paying £6, £7 for a sandwich and a packet of cheese and onion crisps. So anyway, she dragged me in there. You got the money. She said, "Spend it." So anyway, I had this, whatever I had, beef and fancy horseradish baguette and a packet of Pretz cheese and onion crisps. And I never looked back. Now, why haven't I looked back? In fact, I had a crayfish and rockets sandwich yesterday from there, because if you look at that, and if you look at that as your business, they overpriced? Yes, they are overpriced. But what are they? What are you getting as a consumer? You're getting quality. You're getting a great brand. You're getting packaging like Marks and Spencer's, and you will be enticed into that. So I've now been bought into the fact that I will spend double the money to have a sandwich, which I would never done a year ago, because of quality and because of brand. Simple as. So just as we're coming back, don't underprice your services. If you think you're right, you think you're the one out there who can offer the service that those clients want. Yeah, be sensible with what your competitors are offering. I mean, Pret took a massive gamble, but yeah, just be very conscious of your pricing strategy. Um, so we've got pricing, we've got expense control, revenue growth. With revenue growth, I always try and look at the fact that it's about customer lifetime value and improving sales conversion. So, I mean, we don't want to lose our customers. The business that I set up when I left banking, we were very much into what we called retentions, and we got to a stage where although we were spending a lot of money on new leads to get new clients, we found that by taking that time to spend with our clients who had already bought from us 3 months ago and going back to them, there was a massive boost in profitability, because one, we didn't have to pay for the lead from whoever we were buying the leads from. Two, we were building a relationship. So the profit margin was obviously greater, and obviously we were building a massive relationship. So it's very, very easy to, "I need a new customer, I need a new customer." Just keep banging out, trying to get new customers. And what happens, you lose sight of your existing customers, those ones who have been loyal to you. So always bear that in mind. If you can retain customers and oversell, keep just selling to those existing customers. Don't lose sight of your new customers, but keep selling to your existing customers, and that's can be a massive bonus to your profitability. Okay, next slide. I think it's over to you, Tony. I think.
Yeah,
Any
so
questions on that, first of all? Sorry, Tony. No? All fine? All makes sense? Yeah, everyone's nodding their head. Good.
Yeah, and Kate put in the chat, therefore, not overpriced if you're willing to buy for it. So, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to get you to do a bit of thinking and to just think about like it's about our goals that we set and, you know, knowing the sums, and we can get quite, most of the business owners that I've worked with have been quite fearful of the financial side. And we can get a bit overwhelmed by it all. So I've just kind of got it down to very, very simple process, which I'm going to share with you now. So it's like working out how many of the sort of core thing or the one thing that you sell that you need to sell in order to hit your targets. And like, how do we set our targets? Well, there's two figures really. Our need to earn figure. So what is the, you know, the money that we need to be able to take away every month for ourselves? You know, what's that minimum number that pays for everything and we're kind of quite happy and comfortable? And then also the number that we might need in our business to pay for any overheads. Once we've got those two figures and added them together, that's our need to earn figure. So what is that for you? And then what is your want to earn figure? You know, what is the target that if you had no barriers, no sort of imposter syndrome, no things stopping you, nothing getting in your way, what is that number that you would like to earn, that you really want to earn? And I was working with a guy yesterday, and his turnover is 500,000, and he said, I'm quite happy with that. And so I said to him, well, what are you taking out every month? And he said, well, 3 grand. And I said, well, are you happy with that? And he said, well, I would like it to be a bit more. And I said, well, okay. And he said, well, I don't want to be greedy. And I'm like, so we are in business to make money. That is our prime purpose. Even if we're a not-for-profit or a community company, we need to make money in order to do the things that we'd like to do. And there's no greediness about anything. So, you know, like he then said, well, actually, I'd like it to be double. I'd like it to be 1 million so that I can take out 6-7 grand a month and be quite comfortable, do all the things I want to do. So we looked at this. So the next thing really, after you've got those two figures, is actually to look at the core thing, your core offer. Now, if you've been listening on any of these sessions that we've run, we really ought to be only having one core offer, selling one thing to one type of client at one time. So what is your kind of one thing, your number one thing that you sell? And what is the price of that? What do you sell it at? And you then use that to actually divide that your price by the number that you want to earn. So if you want to earn 500,000, then you divide that by your price, and it gives you the number of units you need to sell or the number of people you need to support in order to achieve that. And then you've got your needs. So you've got your baseline. This is what I need to be going after. And then if I want to get here, I want to earn, then there's more that I need to do. But it gives you a trajectory. It gives you a baseline, and it gives you a target from which to work at. And we all know if we don't have targets, it doesn't get done. It doesn't get measured. And we could be trolling along happily, earning money, pulling money in, paying money out, paying ourselves, and actually not really knowing where is the profit coming from. And then when I did this exercise, I actually then looked at each thing I was offering and thinking, well, actually, when I really look at it, some things I wasn't making any profit on. And I'm like, why am I doing that? It takes all my energy and I'm not actually making any profit. So sort of starting with these sums and breaking down what it is you do offer and how much you sell it for, and then looking at your costs and what you want to take out, you suddenly realise you might be doing the wrong thing and spending a lot of energy doing it. So anyway, they're your basics. So have you got your need to earn and you want to earn figures? You don't have to share them, but have you got them? Get them down. Okay. And then this is where I disagree with some traditional stuff, and like, so Ian's first slide around your profit is simple. What are your costs? What are you bringing in? What are your costs? And the balance is your profit or your loss. So that's the traditional way to look at our profit and loss. Is there's sort of three variables. You've got your sales, expenses, and your profits. If you want to make more profit, you have more sales, you reduce your costs. And there's only so much that you can do, you know, depending on what market you're in. You know, there's only so much raising your costs you can do. There's only so much cutting out expenses, because you need a certain amount of expenses every month to, you know, do what you do. So that makes it quite static. It makes it quite difficult. And this magic profit formula, I like to call it, there are actually 5 ways that we can improve our profits. And it's called the divide to multiply principle. Has anyone heard of it? I know some of you have, because you've been on the programs. And if you don't know, you weren't listening. No. So anyway, so the profit table here is so this is about the 5 things are across the top here in gold. So you've got your customers. So how many customers have you got? Times by your average sale. So the number that we just put in the table before. What's your average sale? The cost of your, you know, number one thing. Times the number of transactions. And Ian hinted at this actually, is if you can get a customer to come in and buy again and buy again and buy something else again, then active. Oh, thank you. Just have a nice cup of coffee delivered. It's not a prep coffee, but it is illy, paying double for my beans because they're nice. Yeah, so like, what's the number of transactions that a customer might make with you in a year, or in a month? And then what that is then times the revenue, okay? Once you've got your revenue, you times your profit margin. So what is your profit margin? If you don't know that, we need to work that out. I think Ian's going to share some formulas with you about working that out. And that gives you your profit. But what you're able to do is, if you see from these 2 examples, so the first example I'm giving you here is your customers, so the number of leads you've got. So let's say you're getting 4,000 leads a year. You might only have 10 or 20. It depends on your business and how much you're selling things for, but this is just an example to show how this works. If 25% of that 4,000 leads convert to a customer, so it's someone who actually pays you and buys something off of you, they're not a customer until they do that, that gives you 1,000 customers. If your average sale is £100 and a customer's likely to buy that twice from you, you've actually got a revenue of the year of £200,000. Is everyone with the maths so far?
So can I just ask, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Kate, yeah.
So where you've got transactions, number of transactions times revenue, doesn't that mean, shouldn't that say equal revenue?
No, so if you've got 100 times, yes, so in there, yeah, it should be equal. You're right, yeah.
Got
So
you.
4,000, you end up with 1,000 customers. £100 sale twice is 200. So that then equals revenue. Yeah. And then if you've got a 25% profit margin, your profit is 50,000. Okay.
Yeah. Cool.
With example 2, where you can play with this then, so you can play in any one of these fields, and if you've got a team, you know, you can get people who are doing marketing to increase your leads. So let's say with a 10% improvement across all of them, you then see that these numbers magically are massively more than you had before. So if you increase each of these elements by 10%, and obviously that's going to take some work, but you can work out, well, okay, how can I get 10% more leads in than I had last year? you know, might need to make a bit more effort on the sales and marketing side. I might need to maybe show up on LinkedIn a bit more. I might need to maybe introduce some regular emails, a newsletter, lots of things that drive traffic to our business. If we then improve our conversion, and again, there's lots of things that we can do to improve conversion. You know, we might introduce a one-to-one call instead of just saying book here, and, you know, maybe only 10% of people actually book. If you introduce a free one-to-one call, then maybe you convert a few more people because they actually get to know, like, and trust you by speaking to you. So you convert 10% more customers. And then if you can get a 10% increase in your average sale, most of us could probably charge a little bit more than what we're already charging. So we could, you know, change that price to 100%, and then I know it doesn't quite work out, but 2.2 times that they come back. So they might buy 2 more things plus another little add-on, another little upsell that you've got. You know, it might be something you bolt on your package, and then they'll buy that. Because once they're buying from you, as Ian said, once someone's bought from you, they will usually keep coming back. They will usually be interested in whatever it is that you've got to offer them. So that shows that that is a massive increase in your revenue, you know, almost another 100 grand on this example. Then if we go to work on our profit margin, so we can maybe look at how do we improve that. So we can look at obviously cutting some costs, seeing if maybe we can do things that maybe are a bit more automated, that cut out some costs, cut out some time. It shows you that you've got a 61% increase from a 10% change in those variables. So it's quite amazing. So if you look to run your numbers through something like this, and even if you're changing only a couple of those variables, even if you only work on one of those variables at a time, you can suddenly start to see a big difference in what's coming through in the business and the profit it's making. So is that making sense? Has anyone got any questions? No, I will change that slide. So once we've got that, again, it's a very simple way you can systemize this, okay? And it's about knowing your numbers. And this is my biggest pet hate in when I've got a team and they don't know their numbers, it drives me nuts. Because like coming from a sales and business background, if I didn't know my numbers and I couldn't click them off like this to my managers, then I wouldn't have a job. You know, I had to know what was going on. So in a business, we do have to know our numbers. And it's amazing, Ian, isn't it? How many people and clients that we talk to, they do not know their numbers. They don't know these metrics. They're not sure what's happening in the business. Kind of something is happening because they're successful, but we don't know why. And we sometimes do a lot of things that actually aren't working until you start looking at these numbers. So I really implore you to get your baseline numbers on here. Set yourself, you know, what is your sales or turnover or income target? So we talked about you need to earn and want to earn. That can be very simple. What are those 2 numbers? Okay, so we've got our turnover numbers. How do we plan to achieve them and what are we going to do? So what is the 1 thing, maximum 2 things that we're going to sell to what kind of client, okay? And then we can start looking at a plan, which is daily, weekly, monthly. What are the things that we're actually going to do that's going to drive the people into the sales funnel? So we've all seen the sales funnel, yeah, at the side of the screen there. You're like, so how many connections do we need to make, however we make them, to come into the top of that funnel, to then how do we engage with them? We then got our leads. How many of those are we going to transfer to a call or a follow-up? How many of them do we want to convert into a sale? And it's only at that point they come out the bottom of the funnel having be paid us and they become a customer. So, you know, for me, it's like, how many connections am I going to make a day on LinkedIn and Facebook? How many emails are we going to do a week? Am I going to do a newsletter every week on LinkedIn and on my email? How many calls are we going to make a week? How many lead magnets, like freebie offers, might we be putting out in order to get a call with someone? How many social media posts? For me, it's like between at least one a day, but up to 4. Yeah, are we going to do some advertising? Is there a place where you might be a more local business and you could do local advertising? How many flyers might you want to get out? You know, I've got clients who, you know, literally go around the local shops and they put their flyers in the coffee shops, and that's how they get their business. Others are doing stuff on Facebook, LinkedIn, you know, organically, and then others pay. I've got another client who pays £12,000 a month on Facebook advertising. But for every pound he puts in, he gets out £2.50. So, you know, if we all knew that we could put in £1 and get out £2.50, would we do it? Probably. How many appointments do we need to have a week? Ian and I have just been doing this work this morning, actually, you know, on our kind of offers. So what are our targets? Because if we don't have targets, we can't drive the traffic. We can't look at it every month and say, is that working? Is that not working? What do we need to do? And then what is the reporting and monitoring of that? You know, what are the daily inputs? That's what we should be counting, not the output. If you remember the lead and lag measures, the lag measure is, have I hit my income revenue target? The lead measure is, have I done a post today? Have I done some calls? Have I done an email? Have I done a social, you know, have I got some flyers out? Have I had any appointments? Because if you're not having any of that or doing any of that, then actually nothing's going to come out the bottom of that funnel. Or if it does, you're really lucky and you need to tell us that bit of magic. But, you know, and then what's the accountability? How do you hold yourself accountable? You know, if you've got a team and you've got managers, then you have weekly meetings. It's just you. Are you in a group? Are you, you know, working with somebody that you could buddy up with, that you could both share your numbers with? What's the way that you can hold yourself accountable? I have actually a little, you know, tick list, and I tick it off. You know, I have a scorecard that says race to my revenue target, and then literally I've got 31 days, 12 months, and then I'm literally writing in there every time I write an invoice. I'm writing ahead when I know I've got to invoice someone, and I can see, is that money coming in? Is that money not coming in? If it isn't, I need to come back to this. I need to do more of this. I need to show up more. And when I don't show up and do all of those things in my daily, weekly, monthly plans, then nothing comes out the bottom of the funnel. And I've been there like many times, ups and downs of business. So if you start to do this, then you start to stop those peaks and troughs, that feast and famine. And then reviewing and resetting. Are we doing the work to go, I'm going to put my lab coat on, I'm going to take out the emotion, and I'm going to go, right, what have I done? What's the results? What do I need to change? What's working? What's not working? Move on, start again. Yeah, every day is day one, and certainly weekly, if not monthly basis, are you going towards hitting that need to earn, want to earn figure? Because if you're not measuring it and looking at that on a weekly basis, then a month, 2 months can go by, and suddenly you realise it's not happening. There's not a lot you can do when 2 months have gone by and nothing's happening. So what are you going to do? It's about being in action. You know, again, if you've not heard me say that 10 times, then you've not been listening. So yeah, any questions on that? Okie doke. So
Okay.
back to you.
Financial formulas. Now, won't try and get too technical on this, to sort of break these down a bit. We've got really sort of two main margins. I mean, the return on investment is important. But if we look at the first one, gross profit margin, basically what we're looking at there, as I mentioned to you earlier about the corner shop who buys a tin of baked beans for 10p and sells it for £1. So if we use that example, basically, with your gross profit margin, it's what your turnover is, and that is then divided by less your cost of, sorry, it's your turnover less your cost of goods sold. So you've got turnover 500,000, you've got cost of goods sold, which you've had to buy in to make that turnover, to generate that turnover of say 250,000, you would have a gross profit of 50%. So, and the whole idea of your gross profit margin is obviously that should be stable or increasing. If it's increasing, your turnover up, the gap between your turnover and the cost of goods sold that you're buying is widening. If it's decreasing, obviously you're paying more for your stock or whatever services are related to your turnover. So the gross profit margin, what I always do when I look at a business, I don't look at the retained profit at the end of the day. What the first two figures I look at are turnover. Has that gone up? Has it gone down? Is it stable? But the most important one is the gross profit margin, because I then get an idea of where the business is going with its costs. Then we move on to our net profit margin, which basically is the profit against turnover. So in the example there, we've got a 30,000 profit based on 100,000 turnover. So you've got a 30% net profit margin. So once again, if any of you are au fait with a profit and loss statement, basically what we've got, you've got the top, you've got your sales, you then got minus your cost of goods sold, which, let's say the baked beans you're buying in from cash and carry, that gives you your gross profit. You then got your fixed costs underneath, which are your stationery, staff wages, rent, whatever. That will then give you a net profit. So you've got two key ratios there, really. Your gross profit margin, which is your cost of goods sold against your sales, and your net profit margin, which is your overall operating profit at the end of the day after all your costs have been taken into account, divided by your turnover. Now, those figures don't mean a thing. I mean, in those examples, you've got 40 and 30%. What I would be interested in when I'd analyse any business would be, what are the trends? No one figure means anything. So, as I said, really, it's a matter of seeing, is it decreasing? Is it stable? Is it increasing? And why? And then finally, we come to return on investment. So basically, this is the amount of money that you are making, i.e. profit, against the cost of your investment. There's a typo there, actually. It's got 0.33%. So basically, with this example here, we've got an operating profit of 30,000 against an investment of 90,000 that you as the director or sole proprietor would have put into that business. So you're getting a 33% return on your money. Not many people, to be honest with you, analysts would use that ratio, really. That might come down to it more if you look at exit a business or sell a business. But the top two are, as I say, very important. There's the old saying I always use that you may have heard before, but I'm sorry to be boring, but it's turnover is vanity, profit is sanity. And that's what it's all about. So, okay, next slide. Right, okay. We've covered a lot of this already, really. I just come back to it. Really, it's your customer lifetime value. Very important that you retain your customers, because it's cost effective to your business, more than acquiring new ones. As Tony was saying, you might want to implement some kind of loyalty programs, upselling, any personalized customer engagement strategies. I can't stress enough that you've got to look after you. We go chasing new customers. You've got to look after your existing customers. So retention is always the key to any successful business. Upselling and cross-selling, you know, you really got to encourage your customers to upgrade their purchases. I mean, we might be selling a package to a client, but we might well feel that the next package is more suitable for them now, the way their business is growing. So always sort of bear that in mind. Always think about what your customer actually needs. It might be something that doesn't actually exist in your portfolio of services. So bear that in mind. And also, with your cross-selling and upgrading, what you're doing, you're increasing your turnover and you're enhancing your profit margins, as we discussed in the last slide. And then really finally, look at your operations. How efficient are you? Very easy to take on more staff with these days with AI and software and everything else, and technology. Always just bear in mind that growth doesn't always come around increasing your staff numbers. Yeah, you might have to, but just be very careful of how efficient are you in your operation procedures and day-to-day tasks. And as I say, these days now, technology is becoming so important and helping us so much with that. So that's that slide. Any questions? No? Okay, cash flow is king. As I said on one of the earlier slides, yeah, it's all about making a profit. Otherwise, there's no point in getting out of bed in the mornings. But you need cash to survive. So, I mean, you're managing your day-to-day cash, you're managing the people who owe you money, and you're managing the people you owe money to. So negotiate the best terms possible. I mean, if you really have to, if you can get 30 days credit on the people that you're selling to and 60-day credit on the people you're buying from, fantastic. And I shouldn't say this, but try and use your creditors as your banker, because they're not charging you any interest. So I'm not saying go if you've got 30-day credit terms, don't go up to 45, 60 without asking them, but you can sort of monitor your cash flow, and it does help your cash flow. So just manage your it's called accounts receivables and accounts payable. That's a bit of the Americanized saying. It's normally your trade debtors or trade creditors that we say in the UK. Power of forecasting, very important. And I mean, I used to teach or used to tell my clients when I was in banking how important forecasting was, and I realized exactly how important it was when I set up my own business. And do not be afraid, and I've seen this so many times, January the 1st, you set your cash flow forecast or your profit and loss forecast for the year, and then you put it in the drawer. Forecasts are completely moving. They will move all the time. So it might well be, if you've got a growing business, you want to address that forecast or those budgets at the end of the month too. It might be that you've taken on some new clients. So although you might do a 12-month forecast, it's a moving feast. So always think about the fact that don't be shy in saying, thinking, well, okay, I've got it wrong. I've got to readdress it, or I've got it more than right. So I need to change it. So just don't sort of do it, put it in the drawer and then blow the dust off in 12 months time. You've got to keep reviewing your forecasts. And as I said earlier as well, emergency funds, financial buffers, very important that you if you can, it's sometimes a very nice to have, but you need to ensure that you've got at least a couple of months buffer emergency fund to cover anything that might crop up, any unexpected costs. Or you might lose a client. So you need that support behind you. But I really can't stress forecasting enough on any business. Doesn't matter how big, how small you are. If you've got a flow of income, you need to know where you stand. Excuse me, I just have some water. Next slide. Are we? Okay, so how are we going to, we've got our cash flow forecast, we've got our profit and loss budgets. Hopefully we would have some kind of software in place, whether it's Sage, Xero, QuickBooks or whatever, which now will give us instant information. So we need to be using those at least by the month end to review what we achieved that month. How did that do against our budgets, which is important because there's no point in setting the budgets. There's no point in looking at your actuals and thinking, oh, yeah, that's fantastic. Why is it fantastic? We talked about gross profit margins. Has the margin changed? So it's very important that you review your financials. And just, you know, with Sage and QuickBooks and all those, you can pull off your profit and loss at the end of the month, so you can see where you stand. So it's just really the message here is you've got your cash flows, you've got your budgets, you've got your actual information. Compare the two, okay? Because it will then help you decide how you're going to move forward. I mean, yeah, you are going to have some months where things don't go right or things are great, but you need to understand why. Very important. Okay, do you want to do this one, Tony? Or do you want me to carry on? Do you want me to carry on?
Yeah.
I'll go and carry on. Okay, so what we can offer here is to do a free business health check with you. So what we'll do, we'll have a look at your operational side of your business, look at your historic and current financial position, your accounts, etc. And we will give you an overview. There's certain questions we ask within that health check, and we'll give you an overview of where we feel your business is. It's a 1 hour one-to-one session, and you know, we'll be quite frank. We can only work on the information that you give us, but we'll give you our observation on where we think you are, where you've been, and where we perhaps think you can go to, and what we think you can change to make your dreams come true and enjoy that journey with you. So yeah, if you're interested, there is a link down there that you can click on and put something in the diary. And yeah, by all means, it'd be great to talk to you about that.
I will be putting that in the chat if you want to make that booking. Okay, your profit playbook.
So really, I think with this, it's just looking at the key takeaways, really. We've talked about pricing, get your pricing strategy right. Obviously, that revolves around if you don't get your pricing strategy right, you haven't got any profit in the business. Look at your cost controls, make sure you've got efficient operations in place, and you've got strong financial management. So when we talk about strong financial management, it's just going back to those cash flow forecasts and monitoring your performance against your budgets. I think really what would be good here for your own businesses is to identify 2 or 3 areas where you think you can make some immediate improvements. It might well be that, you know, you've got it right, but perhaps look at adjusting your pricing, cutting unnecessary costs, improving your cash flow management, and really just sort of, I think as a personal action, set yourself some financial goals and create a plan. Really, you know where you want to be. You know what your journey is. You know where you'd like to be in 12 months. How many clients you've got now. How many services you're offering. How many products have you got to offer to your client. So do you want to increase that? Do you want to reduce it? What products are making profit? What profit products are interesting your ideal client? So I mean that's one thing we haven't sort of talked about really, is knowing what your ideal client is and marketing that ideal client. So yeah, I mean, set yourself some action plans, some goals where you actually want to be. It's so easy just to sort of plod along in business and think, yeah, I'm fine. As Tony was saying, the client she was talking to the other day, well, yeah, I'm turning over £5,000 a month. Well, great. If that's what he's happy with, fine. But what's his potential? What can he do? And sometimes, yeah, we need help with that. You can't do it on your own. So yeah, that's the Profit Playbook. I mean, I love it actually. It's right up my street.
So I'll just add into that, so it's not just about what ones are making you profit, because I think profit follows passion. I do this exercise around value, joy, and profit. Looking at each thing that I do and how much value does it bring to my clients, how much joy do I get delivering it, and then how much profit does it make. And some of you, if you've done my programs before, we do that exercise, and it's really enlightening. If you give yourself a score out of 7 on each of those value, joy, and profit on each of the products that you've got or the services that you offer, sometimes you realize, well, one, Jesus, this isn't really making much profit, and 2, I actually hate doing it. Why are you doing something you're not enjoying? Because it will come out. It will come out in your posts, it will come out in the way you engage with people, so like really do an audit on what you're doing, why you're doing it, and then just have one thing for now for one client, get that working, get that bringing in the profit, and then you can add something else. Then you can maybe look to automate, then you can maybe look to bring in someone that can manage some of that for you. Like how can you start to sort of really think about what it is that you do and why you're doing it. So questions, any questions? Please open up your mics, open mic time. Give us a shout, there's 5 minutes left. So please do if you've got any questions. Sina.
Hi, I just wanted to ask, so you offered that business going through the finances. Is that different to what I did with you, Ian? Is that a different thing?
Yes.
It
Yes,
is.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And have you got the link, because it wasn't in the chat to click on? So
you want the financial health check?
yeah, please.
We can get that to you, Zena, today.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
There will be a bit of duplication of what we talked about the other week, Zena.
Okay.
But yeah, it'll be more of an assessment. So
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, we'll let you go and get on with the rest of your Thursday. Have an amazing rest of the week and weekend, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.